Namaskaram, Kirtana and Visalakshi Shankar. It's my absolute pleasure to
Namaskaram.
welcome you all to the panel discussion today. Thank you for your time and your excellent support. To start with, can I please request both of you to introduce yourselves?
My name is Yoga Kirtana and I'm from Bangalore. I reside in Bangalore. I am the disciple of Sangeeta Kalacharya Vidushi Neela Ram Gopal. I've been learning from her for more than 10 years now. I had my initial training. I started at the age of 4 years old. My initial training was from Vidushi P. Rama, and of course my mother is a Vainika, so music runs in the family, and I have listened to her and my grandmother, and I have grown up listening and learning music. And currently I'm with the Shankar Mahadevan Academy. I've been working for more than 7 years now.
Fantastic. How about you, Visalakshi?
Namaskaram. My name is Visalakshi Shankar. I'm based in Dubai. Currently, I'm under the able guidance of Guru Nevili Santana Gopalan sir. And previous to that, I started my training both in violin and vocal from my mother, Srimati Gauri Ramakrishnan. And now currently I'm pursuing from, I'm learning from Nevili sir. And I'm very happy to be in this panel discussion. I've been in Dubai and teaching children for various ages for many years now, and music runs in the family. My mother's a violinist, and I've learned from her. My sisters, they sing. My niece, she sings and plays the flute.
Fantastic. It's great to have you both today, and I'm all the more looking forward to hearing your perspectives about how and why should Indian classical music be appreciated. As performing musicians, I'm sure we all know that music, as such, is one of the oldest forms of non-verbal communication, right? And Indian classical music is very complex, but at the same time, I mean, in addition to having a very rich historic tradition, right, Indian classical music is also a very structured and approached in a very disciplined, systematic way, right? So it is complex. Nevertheless, it's easy and easy on the ears. Let's get first started. I would like to kick off the discussion by asking each of you, what is so special about Indian classical music? And why do you think people should appreciate Indian classical music at all?
First of all, if you see music as such, classical music is very disciplined. It has a very organized structure, and the laya structure, the melody, the classical music has a lot of melody. I mean, and it follows a rigid rule that you have to follow this swarasthanam for each raga. It's a very melody based. So I mean, it's very pleasing to the ears as well. So I think there goes because the first thing is a melody that comes into a classical music, and then the laya structure. But just when you hum a very basic tune, also it sounds very soulful. So I mean, it's very pleasing, not only pleasing to the ears, but it's your soul. I feel so. I mean, it's very soulful. I can just always connect if it's a classical music, Carnatic. The first thing in my mind, the first word comes is soulful. Just close your ears here and bliss, I feel. Yes.
Very true, isn't it? Yes, you said rightly, Carnatic music or Indian classical music is melody based. Kirtana, would you like to share your perspective on this, please?
Yeah, I think like none other music, Indian classical music has a very strong foundation. I think you would have heard. I mean, whoever you talk to, big gurus, the musicians, they will always say, you learn Indian classical music and that will build a strong foundation. And the reason for saying that is, like Vishalakshi ma'am said, it's a very structured approach. There is, it starts right from the basics, an understanding of the notes, the swarasthanas, rhythm. The two very important aspects, especially in Carnatic music, is the raga and the tala, and rhythm is also given equal importance in Indian classical music. So and the way, if you listen to a Carnatic concert, there is every aspect in that concert, be it a melody in terms of the raga alapana, or complex muktais, which it encompasses everything. So I think that's what kind of builds the strong foundation. And when you learn Indian classical music, you get that confidence, because it is a rigid approach. You're taken through the swara exercises, and of course it has been given to us on a platter by Purandaradasa. He has structured it for us, so it gives you that in-depth knowledge, and I think takes us towards enjoying the music. The more we understand, the more we enjoy the music that we listen to or sing.
So very true, isn't it? As performers, you would have felt it in your concerts as well whilst performing. Most important thing is that we have to enjoy singing. Only then the outcome would be, to the maximum, and to a positive maximum, let's say, put it that way. But something very striking about Indian classical music is that one need not be trained as such. One need not know this raga is Riti Kaula or Nate, or we're talking about Carnatic music per se, because all of us are Carnatic musicians here present today. So one need not really know this is Nate or Riti Kaula or Kalyani. But then there is some note, something that strikes and that reaches the heart, right? So I think it is important that, yes, as Kirtana, you mentioned it rightly, we as musicians, we have been trained right from a very young age. We've been exposed to different kinds of music, and particularly Carnatic music. We have grown up with this kind of music, and perhaps, and that's one of the most important reasons why we are able to appreciate, understand and appreciate and perform, right? But if we look at it from an audience perspective, I'm sure you will also agree with me. Every artist would like to strike a right balance between the audience and the artist performing, right? So it's very, very important for us to strike that right chord. Perhaps in that audience, we might have certain people who are really connoisseurs of music aficionados, and people who are really trained, with trained ears. However, there will be certain sect of people who will just come there to see, perhaps, yes, I hope the singer or the artist performs one of these songs which I may have heard somewhere, on the radio or on the television somewhere. So we have various sections of these audience, right, whom we have to cater when you perform for an audience. I would like to hear your views, because if you have to appreciate music, first thing is you have to create that ambience, create that understanding, create that relationship between the audience and the artist. I would love to hear your views on this. As an artist, when you perform, we have different categories in the audience, right? Some might be real experts.
Yes.
Some might be just coming there for the pure pleasure of listening to music. They're just there to appreciate the music, right? And there is another section of people who are very curious as to what exactly happens in a concert. So we have different types of audience, different types of people. What is your responsibility? What would be your responsibility to have that right kind of connect with the audience so that they appreciate what you perform?
The right connect. First of all, a concert can be for half an hour. It can be for 45 minutes. It can go for 1 hour. It can go for 4 hours. So first, the artist should know what can be given if it's a half an hour concert, and also to include, and the audience should enjoy. First of all, when we just plan for the concert, we need to see what compositions can go for a half an hour concert, what compositions can go for a 45-minute. You can't just have one raga alapna and then just do the main and then finish off the concert for half an hour. So you have to give a bit of everything so that the audience understand the technical details, as well as some lay persons, like you told, they just want to come and enjoy the concert. So we have to cater to them as well. So what was the requirement? It should be a mixture of everything. So first, depends on the timing of the concert, half an hour or 1 hour or 2 hours. 2 hours, you need to definitely, go a little more into detail. So, see, supposing someone doesn't understand, they just come for one artist singing Kure Hundru Millai, which is, I mean, a popular song being repeated. So, probably we can include that. You have to see the audience, you have to see where you are performing and what can be, given so that everyone enjoys and goes. And always I feel when a concert is there, even if it's a half an hour or a very small concert, when the audience leaves the auditorium, it should be, like the melody, it should be ringing in your ears. I mean, it was really, they should leave in a trance, I feel. So that is where, the artist has reached the audience. Like, if you're performing in for a, very, I mean, not even, knowing about music, what is Saregama. But still, when they leave the auditorium, they have to feel, I mean, it was really in a trance, and they should feel it very blissful when they leave. So that is what, and also depends on the concert. Supposing 2-3 hours, you have to include many advances things. You have to cater to tukras. You have to see that everything is given, like, when you cook, I mean, all these items, so you just cater to them. The main course, it starts with a starter, it starts with soup, everything. So, like a salad, I mean, you have to really cater to that. It should be a potpourri of everything, even if it's a half an hour concert. So, depends on the selection of songs, and we have to see the audience, what language do they understand. Probably, you can select those compositions, I mean, cater to that language, and then, we can enjoy.
Makes a lot of sense because an effective concert planning matters a lot.
Yes.
To the kind of audience that we are trying to perform and trying to reach.
And one more thing is that invisible connect will come if the artist himself or herself is enjoying the performance. I mean, they should themselves from within start enjoying. So what happens is automatically it just reaches the audience, and probably the audience also will, communicate. It's invisible communication between the audience and the artist to build that rapport.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think there are a number of factors here. As an artist, I always first kind of get an idea of the place that has invited me to, perform. You always look at whether it is a sabha concert or whether it's in a temple. There are so many different stages or platforms that you get a chance to perform in. So by just analyzing that, you will get a sense of the audience that is going to come and watch your performance. And keeping that in mind, like Vishalakshi ji said, concert planning becomes very important there. So I think it should be the right blend of compositions which are popular and which are enjoyed by audiences, and also you include one or two rare compositions to kind of show your knowledge and prowess, because that gives you an opportunity. And yes, of course, while you are performing, how confident you are, the way you are interacting with your accompanying artists, your fellow artists, I think that creates the environment. When the audience sees that you are enjoying the composition or enjoying the concert yourself, they seem to get involved in the singing too. So I feel that that's what matters in creating the connect between the artist and the audience.
Sure. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because once you have that right kind of connect with the audience, then there's no looking back. So you've accomplished what you wanted to, right, through your music.
Right.
But see, our classical Carnatic music especially, if you see, look at the Trinity compositions and of course the other contemporary compositions, they're very, very profound and rich in the lyrics, right? And through the lyrics, the bhava emanates, right? The composer has been successful enough to capture that kind of bhavam through the profound lyrics. So I would love to hear your perspectives. I mean, there is nothing like this is the best composition or, likewise. But it is the responsibility of every artist, I feel. Perhaps if you, I feel that this is one of the way how you can help people, even though those who are not trained or exposed to classical music, in order to make them help them appreciate music. Perhaps see these days, media plays a very important role, right, for many decades. So when you have Akashvani, All India Radio, or several other platforms who broadcast Carnatic music, so when they announce the raga, the tala, and then they announce the composer. Perhaps it would really help if something more is mentioned about the song that is going to be performed, the kriti that is going to be performed.
Namaste, ma'am.
Namaste, namaskara, namaskaram. So,
Namaste.
Hello.
Namaste. Namaste.
This is Dr. Aruna Tampi, Visalakshi Shankar, and Yoga Kirtana.
Namaste.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too, ma'am.
So when a performance is bound to take place, when they introduce the singer or the artist, it could be a vocalist or an instrumentalist, but they just say the name of the raga, tala, and then the composer. So we were just talking about how would it be beneficial if they really include, say for example, they're going to sing a kriti, Tattvamariya Tarama. So if we can, speak a little more about what the kriti is all about, perhaps including the name of the composer, which they already mentioned, this will also help people who are really not into Carnatic music, but perhaps they can, when they listen to that, okay, so this song has got so much of meaning and so much of profound lyrics towards because Indian classical music is all spiritual in nature, as we all know. I would love to hear your perspectives. Would that really make a difference at all? It is the responsibility of we as artists to create this awareness as to in what other ways and means, what are the platforms we can talk more about these compositions and explain, not much, not elaborately, but at least the gist of the song. What is the bhava? What is the circumstance in which the composer has composed this particular song? I would love to hear your views. Aruna, would you like to start with this?
Definitely, ma'am. It's actually a very interesting topic. Ma'am, I would prefer that it should be more interactive. Like before a performance, I feel a musician should elaborate or give a small introduction of what he is singing. If they are telling about a musical form, like in Carnatic music, if you are singing about Tilana, we can say what kind of Tilana they are singing. Okay, what the speciality, the sahitya, the beauty of the lyrics or something. We should make it interactive, just like an advertisement, because how they communicate with us, that is very important. Because I feel that All India Radio, and they all are doing the class work of doing broadcasting the very good level of singing, but I don't think the youngsters are even listening to it. I don't think they are exposed to such kind of music. So I feel this should be like included in every event, every festival in a temple or an event. We should start introducing Carnatic music or Hindustan.
Yeah, I think that is a very valid question that you asked, because when you see a concert, it's all age groups of people who come to listen, and I think, like Karunaji was saying, one of the ways in which you can educate the audience about what you are singing, and also that youngsters get more interested, is to, of course, talk about the composition a little bit. You anyway mentioned the ragam. Usually if it is a popular ragam, we don't really talk about it, but if it is a rare ragam, talking about the ragam, and this is something that I really admire, and especially Prince Ram Verma ji's concerts. He ensures to very briefly give the gist of the meaning of every composition. I myself am guilty of not doing it, but I think, yes, that it helps in kind of bringing the audience close to the artist, also helps them when they listen to the composition after the meaning is told, they're able to enjoy or connect to the composition or the melody in a much better way. And also, while especially when we are teaching students, we ensure that always the meaning is something that is conveyed. A lot of people would argue that in Carnatic music, the melody takes precedence over sahityam, and to enjoy the melody you don't really need to understand the sahityam, which is probably true. But when you understand the meaning of the composition, I think the understanding is much better. You're able to enjoy the composition a lot better. So just helping them, not just about the composition, a little anecdote about the composition, a little story about the kriti. For example, if you're teaching a student or talking about you're performing Amrita Varshini, how that ragam came about, and sharing certain facts like
Yeah.
that with the audience will really help in elevating the experience and
Absolutely.
bringing you closer to the audience.
Very well said. Yeah, very true. And Aruna, you connected with a very important point where, see, the sustainability of any form of classical music lies with the youth. How well we are able to, create an awareness and help them, bring them into this style of music and take this forward. So it is entirely, they are responsibility as artists to create this awareness in the young people. So it's a very important thing that we need to have that right kind of, chord with the young people as such. So that's very well said. Yeah. Visalakshi, would you like to contribute here?
Yes. Yeah, it's a very nice question, and a lot to ponder over it. As Arunaji and Kirtana told, I mean, see, Sahitya in our, particularly in our compositions, it adds aesthetic beauty to the song. So when it adds aesthetic beauty, what happens is, like Kirtana told, we do explain the meaning and the background of the composition, how the composer composed the song, and where was he, in what situation has he composed. So when a student understands, when a person understands it, they can understand more about the composition, about the song, what each line is conveyed, what is the meaning conveyed from each line. So the background and history is understood. The artist can also emote and sing more, understanding and visualizing the situation. You can emote a lot, because if you emote, if you understand the meaning and sing, you can emote well. The bhava can be given wherever has to be given. And probably the compose, supposing if Tyagaraja has, if he has composed, like for Kanugunti, in what situation the song was composed, when he found the Rama idol, I mean, he has composed. So these little like anecdotes, if they are given, anyone can understand. If a lay person will understand, so much of depth is there in this composition. So we need to, probably not once, it will make them listen more, I mean, repeatedly as such, and develop an interest. If you just give them a blank composition, this is what is the composition, this is what the Sangati is, so probably not much of an interest is developed. But when you give a story for it, I mean, exact how Tyagaraja or Dikshidhar or Shyama Sastry, any composer for that matter, Utukad, Venkatakavi, what situation have they composed. So it adds, definitely the children will be more interested in understanding and learning. And also we can tell, because of this, the Sangati has to be given like this, the Bhava has to be done like this. So as such, Sahitya gives an aesthetic beauty. I think we have to give a lot of importance to these compositions and the words and the lyrics.
Excellent. Very, very, very insightful. Now that we have spoken about the audience perspective, right? Now, is that as music teachers and performers, what are your views on? Is there any particular age as a child for them to start understanding this form of music? Do you think, what are your views about this? I mean, I've been always very curious because personally, yes, I grew up listening to music, but it couldn't be the case with everybody, right? Is there any particular age, as you, as music practitioners and, teachers of music? I would love to hear your perspectives. Aruna, would you like to go on first?
Oh, yeah, ma'am. Actually, it's a very, very beautiful question, actually, because I feel it's the way you feed how a mother feeds a child with that love. The teacher has to be like a mother while teaching music. Like when I'm teaching Saptaswara or when I'm teaching Shamale Meenakshi, the primary level compositions, I make sure they understand why we are learning that. Like I tell them, you know Shankarabharanam, okay, this is, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, the rhymes, it is also in C scale, with this C major scale. C major means Shankarabharanam. It's very simple. And then they like, oh, Twinkle Twinkle, yeah, we know that. Okay, now you can we sing Shamale Meenakshi? So when we relate to them, they love such things, ma'am. You know, nowadays everybody loves that kind of comparison. Okay, you can compare this with that. Even as you said little before, adolescent children, they love Carnatic music more than us actually. We love it because we have learned and it's our tradition, we love. But nowadays even the teenagers know they love Carnatic music. They come up with, ma'am, Sada Pale in Mohanam. Ah, it's a beautiful composition. I was like, why, how come you started loving this? Ma'am, the instrumentation was nice, or the tune was appealing, or while driving when I was listening, the beauty was different. It's okay.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I was telling that exactly, it completely depends on the teacher and the ambience. Like some students do have a good ambience at home, but it depends on the teacher how they make them understand the beauty, the aesthetic beauty. Like aesthetic beauty is something that's a level, supra level of loving music or understanding the lyric. Like if I'm teaching Bantu Riti, when I come to Charanam, I make sure I make them understand that Rama Nama Mani. So when I sing that, no, I go to a different level and I make them understand why is Rama Nama, it's like so precious for Tyagaraja. Then they relate to it. So it's as both of the teachers said, it is exactly how we speak and how we express. And the same way the students will, they get that feeling. And there is no age bar. According to me, there is no age bar, ma'am. Yeah, after, it depends on the child and depends on the teacher. And and definitely, ma'am, because music is such a medicine. It can change anyone's heart.
So true, so true.
I feel so, ma'am. I feel so.
Fantastic. Thank you, Varuna. Kirtana, would you like to go next, please?
Yeah, I completely agree with Aruna ji. I think there we shouldn't put an age restriction or an age bar. Kids as young as 2 or 3 years old, they are like sponges. They absorb everything. At that point of time, they may not have the ability to understand everything, but at that point, it is mostly listening and learning. Right, so a lot of learning is happening by just listening, by just looking, by just imitating the teacher. And of course at that age, I mean, it's very age dependent. If it is a young child, how you can explain a particular concept by using the things that they know. And once they're a little older, taking examples of something that for example, if it's a teenager boy, definitely that he loves watching cricket or he loves watching football. So for example, if I had to explain the concept of pitch, so I'll try and connect that to cricket and I'll say, what is that thing that they play on? So that's the pitch, right? They're not supposed to go out of the pitch when a bowler is bowling. And helping them connect to the concept through an example of something that they know or they can relate to. That will help them understand. But I think for them to appreciate better music, I feel, kids who are older than maybe 6 years old, they're probably able to understand when you teach them about talam and swarasthanas, talangas, because when they start learning alankarams, the different talams come into play. What is a ragam? What are the different kinds of the 12 swarasthanas, combinations creating raga? So all these things, I feel, if they're a little older, they're able to understand what they are singing, and that will really help them remember and retain what they learn. For very young children, it's more just listening and learning, so they may not really understand the science behind it. But as they grow older, the teacher should make it a point to, take them through these finer aspects, because many a time we find that they have learnt music and they're able to sing beautifully, but when you ask them a little about the ragam or the talam, they are not able to, answer. So that should kind of go hand in hand, and for that I feel if they're a little older than 6 or 7 years old, they're able to better understand these aspects.
Fantastic. So very well said. Visalakshi, would you like to contribute to this?
Yes, actually, I really echo these words that Kirtana and Arunaji said. I feel appreciation comes when it starts at the inception of life in the womb, when the mother is conceived, and it starts because if the any pleasant sound or anything is heard, you can feel the kick of the child. So it starts from there. There is no age, in fact. And as Kirtana rightly said, when the student comes to learn, it all depends. And I feel each and every class, every student is different. So the approach to a student should be entirely, tailor made for each class. You can't do one thing that you're done for one student to the other. You can't just, we have to first understand the psychology of the student. What makes them interest? We have to see what is their interest first. And so connect Shruti, Talam, everything may be, very, very monotonous and mechanical for them. But if you connect, as Kirtana said, the pitch has to be connected. If a boy is interested in cricket, you just give. If a child is interested in car, you just connect with that. Child is interested in cartoons, you just connect with that. So what happens? The inquisitiveness and the learning to learn these things, happens. And the class can be made more interesting by telling them ad hoc stories, a few anecdotes, giving how Purandar Dasa, why he has done it in Maya Malagala, why it is, only we stick to Maya Malagala when he start. All these things, if you just give little tidbits and, anecdotes, I think the class can be, made very, very interesting. And definitely it will inculcate an interest with the students. It just blindly just starting Sarigama and they don't understand for what they are learning. So if we give them all these background, definitely it can be made more interesting. And I'm sure we can see some videos, 2.5-year-old children, they sing so well. It's not that, we have seen some videos, 2.5-year, 3-year-old, they just start singing. Probably some previous karma connection, maybe, they have started singing. So there's no age for it at all. And children, they just appreciate, like Kirtana said, they are like sponges. They can just learn and absorb everything. Yes. Probably they don't understand what each and everything is, but they can just learn it. So after a certain age, probably for a teenager, as I told, for adolescents, we have to make it interesting. I sometimes connect with the iPhones because that is the latest craze that everyone has with the phones and, the version 6S, 11, this, that Pro. And also, we connect with that because they understand about this technology more. So we also have to approach accordingly. So each and I think we have to relate to many things to make them understand and inculcate an interest. And I'm sure this.
Beautifully said. That's so very beautifully said, because the days when we used to learn music are different, entirely different. Gone are those days. We used to learn. I remember I used to learn Akriti. My guru used to teach me, and just come back and practice, and then till we tried to perfect it. But that same formula cannot be applied in today's parlance, right? As all of you, you said it so well. You need to really, work with the child or their interest, go along with them, and then try to subtly introduce this concept. Because these days, one other very important thing I realize is people love to, especially children or the teenagers, they love to listen to Bollywood music. Right? So the term classical, when it comes to Carnatic or Hindustani, right? Not many are really willingly, coming forward to that, unless they are being, they are genuinely they are interested, or they feel it's nice, pleasing to the ears, or they've been forced by the parents to start learning or listening to such kind of music. So there is a lot that's happening, in today's parlance as we speak. Each one of us, and also the great gurus of Carnatic music are doing their the best efforts to propagate and instill classical style of music in today's world. If you see Carnatic music, 10, 20 years down the line, and to where it is today, that's so very amazing. Thanks to the contribution to so many teachers and so many gurus who have taken so much of efforts to popularize this style of music, right? Having said all that, the media has really hyped up the importance or an emphasis more on Bollywood music. Nothing wrong in that, but we need, as classical musicians, as musicians trained in this form of style of classical music, I feel it is each one of us, our responsibility to bring in the young generation, to bring in the young people at a much younger age. They need not be, as Kirtana rightly said, they need not be very well adept in knowing the meaning of the song when they're 8 or 9 years old. However, let them start listening. When I was a kid, my parents and my grandparents, they used to say, நிறைய பாடணும், நிறைய பாட்டு கேட்கணும். So the Kelvi Jnanam, we call it in Tamil, I'm sure.
Yes.
I hope you all understand Tamil, right?
Yes.
So the more you listen to this kind of music is one of the very important way where you can imbibe this style of music right from a young age. Even as you need not be a student of music, but you can at least learn to appreciate.
Yes.
Right? From a very young age onwards. So I think we have touched very important points here and in today's discussion. And we also, when we started this discussion, Aruna, we also spoke about how important it is to plan the concept planning, because so we are looking at from a Rasika, from the audience perspective, and also as an artist. So that is what we actually discussed before you joined in the discussion. And we all agreed that the concept planning is extremely crucial in order to strike the right kind of balance between the audience and the artist, right? Now, before we conclude, I'm very curious to know, as performing musicians, right? How important you feel is to understand and appreciate music from your stance. What is your perspective? We have talked about teaching, creating awareness in the young people, reaching out to the Rasikas, to the audience, but how important it is for an artist per se to understand and appreciate this form of classical music.
Actually, ma'am, in a concert, the appreciation by Rasika is important, but the self-satisfaction of an artist is very important. Because in Carnatic music, there is we have a restriction, like only evening we have concerts, and we don't follow the time theory as in Hindustani music. So we generally take very common ragas for a concert, but sometimes it depends on the capacity of a musician. Like sometimes a student or a singer wants to try Vagadishwari. It's a rare ragam, or Bhairavam or something, but they may not be able to have a good kind of interaction with the rasikas, because those ragas are not so common. They are very single kriti ragas or something like that. So but sometimes the musicians have to sing for themselves. Like in a concert, I have seen this, most of the concerts, if it is a Carnatic concert, the audience will be very the crowd will be very small. Whereas when you go for a devotional concert or devotional songs, the crowd will be more. So being a musician and to support the sabha, we try to include some commercial devotional songs, etc., etc. But I feel 2 or 3 compositions should be done for the satisfaction of the musician. Like if you are doing the main kriti in any Karahara Priya, you can no, the musician would love to do something different after that, like some Pratipati Madhyama Raga or something like that. But sometimes you do it for yourself and not for the Rasikas. One or two compositions or some shlokas or some kautam, something you can try now. So that I feel the musicians should, it is a risk actually, because sometimes you're actually performing for a sabha and they need good crowd and everything. So you have to follow them. But in a few circumstances, I usually love to sing some rare compositions that my guru has taught me, like some Ashtapadi, or because I have taken time to learn it. It's not like the capsule courses that we see now. Because my guru, I remember I used to go travel 2-3 hours in Delhi to reach my guru's place, and she said your kala pramanam is not correct, so put kala the adi talam for 2 hours. Takadimi, takadimi. And my parents had the patience to sit with me, waiting for me to get the correct Kala Pramana. But nowadays, you cannot find that, ma'am. Nowadays, not even a single parent or a student has the patience. They correctly 1 hour they want the class. In 1 hour they want to finish everything, and such kind of that hardship we had while learning each and every composition. Like if you are singing Nrityati Nrityati in Shankarabharana Swati composition, I know it took me 2 months to learn that composition. So I want to present it sometimes, but sometimes, the circumstances won't allow you to do that. So I feel a musician should have it should be a mixture of Rasika's favorite compositions, Sabha's favorite compositions, and your own favorite. I feel so. Because I do like that. I don't know about other musicians, but I appreciate if someone gives a rare composition, and like in Varali and all, nobody do, ma'am, nobody sings much compositions in Varali in a concert. They always try to sing or end up a concert with a Madhyamavati or Revati. We should always try something different, at least one or two composition. This is my perspective. Completely, it is my perspective. I'll request Kirtana and Vishalakshi madam to give up your.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Aruna. Really good.
You're welcome.
Okay. So my take on how a musician can appreciate the art is, I think, to constantly update and upgrade your knowledge. Music is so vast; it's never ending. It is never ending, and that is something that I have imbibed from my guru Neela Mami. She is young, 86 years old, and even today she hears a young student. It may be a very young performing artist, maybe just 10 years old. He sings in a concert and he has sung an interesting muktai. She will immediately write it down. Or she listens to a new composition that somebody has sung, she will immediately try to get the notation and learn it. So I think one should constantly be in the pursuit of acquiring more knowledge, because music is so vast. And honestly, I believe that it's just the drop of an ocean that I know. So the only way you can appreciate art or music more is to delve deep into it and to get as much knowledge as you can, because I think one lifetime is really not enough to learn the number of compositions that there are, and uh, not just compositions, to know history. And how much ever you read, how much ever you study, it is not enough. So I think the more that you learn, the more that you listen to, like you said, the more you are able to appreciate music. And that is something that as teachers we should try and inculcate in our students as well. That is something that I make it a point to say, because I know that even I was like the students of today, maybe a little better than them. I used to just go to Pata class because my mother used to take me and learn the song, come back, practice that song. And so there was other things, studies, going to play and all of that. But only later, once I got into music a little more seriously, did I realize the importance of learning and whatever I had learned, and the importance of listening to music. Once I started listening to music, that's when I found a humongous change in the way I approached music as an artist. And that's something again my guru inculcated in me. She, whenever there is a concert happening, she would be there sitting in the front row, whether it is a big artist or a small artist. You have a music concert, you go and listen, you're getting it, you're getting knowledge freely. Why do you want to let it go? So that is something that I try to impart to the students as well. I encourage them to listen to more music. So I think you know, as I said, listening to more music, getting to know more, learning more compositions, that will really help in appreciating the art more. That is my perspective.
So well said. Ms. Alakshi?
Yeah. Our term Karnataka music itself, I just always split it into Karna and Atta. So Karna is ears, right?
Yeah.
So the ears have to be given a lot of work in Carnatic music, in music. So I always tell the students, the term itself has ears. So better, give more work to your ears than to your eyes. Don't refer the book and sing. Keep listening to the recordings, keep listening to the compositions and assimilate all the sangadis, the importance of lyrics, the sahitya, assimilate everything and then keep listening, which will help you a lot. Because when you refer to a book, what happens is the 50% concentration goes on the lyrics, 50% you are able to emote. By listening, supposing you have learned a composition today, you keep listening to the recording, keep singing it, and automatically the lyrics get registered. As such, when we take a class, we all, even in Shankar Mahadevan Academy, we make it a point that the students are given the lyrical meanings to each composition. It's explained. And then once you understand the meanings, it becomes easy to register the lyrics, right? And then you can emote. So that helps a lot in elevating the composition and elevating the delivery of each composition. So when you start listening, the ears do their job. I think it helps a lot. I think 50% is learning from a teacher, 50% is by listening. The teacher can only guide you to a certain extent. Rest, when even a Manodharma, the compositions can be taught. But Manodharma Sangeetam, in particular in Carnatic music, I think the students have to learn. I consider myself always a student because every single performance, every single artist singing, we learn a lot. The same composition, if I hear Endaro from Shemangudi Mama, each time I learn something new. I think there is never ending. Like Kirtana said, I mean, it's just a drop of ocean that we are, whatever little I know. They tell Katradu Kaiman Alavu. I think Veral Alavu only I know. I don't even know Kaiman Alavu. So there is so much. I think this Janma is not at all enough. So listening helps a lot. And we have to encourage the students to go to a concert. And now that it's so much of advancement in technology, children can just get all these in YouTube and Spotify and just, iTunes. It's so available. In us, when we were learning, we had to travel by train and bus in Mumbai and go for a concert. But still, we will not
leave. It's all
leave.
happening on Facebook. We have concerts streaming on Facebook.
Concerts, everything. So it's readily available. I think we have to make maximum use of, available resources by listening. I think you have to listen a lot, which will help. Learn. I mean, I consider myself a student. I generally, even during my school days, I was one very fond of concerts. I've not missed any concert. Even board exams tomorrow, I just finish my studies and go and sit for my concert. Because my parents were very generous that, we stayed in a place in Mumbai so that, we can attend all concerts and the children will not miss any concert. So that, because I used to like music. I mean, from my childhood days, I've been listening to music. My mom used to take classes. My mom used to play violin, teach us composition. And she also used to tell, please listen, you keep listening. The same Todi today, when you hear may not be the same when you hear it next time. You learn a lot. So listening definitely helps a lot. And I feel this Karnataka, the term is so beautifully done that, please give a lot of work to your ears than the eyes. Because these days children are unable to memorize anything. Because they have a lot of distractions. They are not to be blamed. But by listening, probably they can definitely, improve their memory power and everything. I mean, learning can be done very well, I feel so.
Because in older times, there were no paper tradition. People
No.
never, yeah. So they only listened, and my teacher used to tell me that they only listen to the gurus in Gurukula.
Yes.
They only listen to the guru, and
No writing, nothing. Even we have learned the same. I
Yes,
have learned the
yes.
same. Yes,
And
I
those
learned.
are the surprisingly, those are the compositions that I remember even today. The
Yes,
ones
yes.
that, you know, yeah, the ones today that I notate, it takes some time to assimilate and remember the
True,
Sahitya.
true, true.
But those compositions, when we learnt when we were young, when the teacher would just teach and you repeat and then go
Yes.
back home and listen to it and learn, that is still there. All the sangatis one after the other, without
Yeah, I don't know how it
that
happened,
is
because
what
nowadays,
remains in the mind.
yeah, because nowadays children want notation for every sangati.
Yes.
For
No,
Pallavi, they
notation.
want
Notation is good. I think notation
yeah, yeah.
is a good thing. It helps the student. It's something that they preserve. They can go
Yeah,
back
for
to.
the
So
long run.
notations are
Yeah, for the
for the
long
long
run.
run. It is important.
Hmm.
But yeah, dependency on the notations shouldn't be something
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is
Correct,
encouraged.
correct, correct.
Yeah, I think more listening
So
and learning.
Yeah, my
very,
teacher
very
used to say
valuable.
from Guru Mukham. Guru Mukham. My teacher used to say, you should learn from Guru Mukham. So whenever she's teaching, she told me, just concentrate, like look at my eyes, the bhava I'm bringing out. Dr. Padmashri, Dr. Leela Amcheri. So whenever she sang, no, every song was different. I used to feel she's dancing, the way, the bhava, and you just capture it like that. You just capture it, and yeah, and you reflect, actually you reflect, and you give out, even though, yeah, there are changes definitely, because every musician is different. So whenever we listen to a different Sudhaji or something new, you feel okay, this command can be sung like this, okay, just as like Vishalakshmi madam said, todi in different ways. Now we are seeing different flavors or different, different roots of todi. So as you all said, even I feel Shravana is very important. Listening is very, very, very important. More concerts, more exposures. Correct.
Yeah, very rightly said. We all need to listen to more. And now, what our grandparents and parents have said over so many years, makes a lot of sense. The more you listen to, the more we get more familiarized. We get a lot of ideas, as to how to approach, how better to approach a particular song. And what are the different improvisations we can perhaps include. That, I mean, traditional way how we have been taught by our gurus, right? So yeah, coming back to the same
Said
thing with
that, I remember.
sorry, Visalakshi, go.
Yeah, just one important the thing. I was just seeing one a panel discussion, and a senior artist was telling he himself is a very senior artist. He's mentioning you have to practice one kriti for 1 lakh times, then you have the right to ownership. So you can just imagine so many times being, sung and listened and sung, and so the improvisation takes place. He said just 1 lakh times you sing and you can own that kriti
Fantastic.
composition.
That reminds me, when I was learning from my Guruji, Dr. T.V. Gopalakrishnan, he used to tell me, Oru Varnam, you have to sing at least 100 times if you have to perform for a concert. So it makes a lot of difference. And yes, we need to arrive at that kind of perfection if we have to perform before, the audience could be a small audience, or, it could be lakhs of people in front of us. So that's very, very insightful perspectives from all of you. So yes, technology has advanced these days. We have everything on a golden platter, unlike what we used to have when we were learning music from our gurus, right? So I think, and with the amount of distraction, either in the form of gadgets or in the form of different other kinds of music, there's no harm in listening to different styles of music, a different genre of music. However, as as people pursuing students of music and teachers of music in this particular art form, it is our responsibility as parents and as teachers and as students to bringing the young generation, bring them in line with this style of music, and try to create more awareness, through to be much more involved and take this further. So I think with this, we come to the end of this wonderful discussion. I am really very grateful to each and every one of you for your valuable inputs and your time and support. We would like to end this discussion, with this lovely note.
Definitely. Thank you so much. And it
Thank
was,
you.
it
Thank
was
you so
wonderful
much.
to be a part of this
Yeah.
discussion. Thank you for
Ma'am,
inviting
very
us.
true.
Thank you so much.